And welcome back to Martial Arts Today Television. I'm your host, Joe Rebelo, and we're here today with two very special guests from the wonderful R&L Fantasy Woodworks. And again, we have, respectively, Randy and Lance. Now, gentlemen, the first question I always ask all my interviewees is, how did you begin in the martial arts? And again, I don't, you know, for this case, it's going to be interesting because we're really talking about your product. But again, do either one of you have martial arts experience, and tell us about it?
Yes, I do. I took Taekwondo for 15 years under my brother-in-law, Stan Bogdan.
Oh, okay.
And it was a family thing. I brought him in for a little while, and we just grew from there. And our love for weapons and the forms kind of fueled us to do what we're doing now.
Wow, I don't know if you're aware of it, but actually I interviewed Stan many years ago when he brought in Jason DeLucia. Matter of fact, that's how I met Jason, was Stan bringing him in for martial arts demonstration on the Pancras system that he was learning at that time in Woonsocket, Rhode Island. That's where both you gentlemen are from. Right. Wow, small world. That's great. Well, you know, what really inspired me and what really intrigued me was I was at the Rhode Island Comic-Con. And I'm walking along and looking at the different wares, and I had a couple friends of mine that were selling weapons at the event, which is really funny when you think about it, where these guys that sit there, you can't bring in weapons, but you can walk in and buy anything short of a howitzer in the place. But a friend of mine, Steve Perry, runs the event, and I come up to R&L Fantasy Woodworks, and I was enthralled. I mean, your poor son couldn't get rid of me because they kept hanging around thinking, look at that, look at that, look at that, look at that. And I really enjoyed your innovative thought process on the creation of your weapons. So obviously the main question we asked today is, how did you begin creating these fantasy weapons?
Well, my son used to play video games, and he's seen this one game that had a big, humongous warhammer. And he said, "Dad, could you make something like this?" I said, "I'll take a stab at it." And I made one, and it just turned in, we started going to a place called Rubber Chicken Comics, and he's like, "Oh, can you do old 80s cartoon swords?" Because we showed him the hammer. And then I started doing that, and then it went into other things where I get a piece of wood, I see it and see a weapon in it, and I carve it out, and I just roll from there, and it just got to be an obsession.
Wow. You know, now, again, some of the different fantasies and famous cartoons, so of course you've done Lionel's Blade, a variation of Lionel's Blade from Thundercats. So name some of the other...
Well, we did the He-Man sword. We also did a few variations from the Diablo video game.
Got the 300 sword.
The 300 sword.
Ah, the Spartan Blade.
Yeah, Spartan Blade. The Conan dagger with the 2 snakes. You know, we've done a few, you know, everything that catches my eye. Every once in a while I'll try something different.
Most of it is all of our own original ideas.
Yeah.
But we do get ideas from other things as well.
And I really think that's one of the important features about the blades that you make. That it's not just the dyed-in-wool traditional blades that you see from here, there, you know, that people instantly recognize, but it's also the creative thought process that goes into creating these blades. I mean, whether they're daggers or swords or miscellaneous weapons, you really put some unique, interesting, innovative slants on these weapons. And you know, another important part we want to talk about is the fact that, you know, when people get some of these, it costs them an arm and a leg. They have to sell their grandmother to the Iraqis to kind of buy some of these things.
Right.
You're fairly affordable. You're fairly affordable. And again, was that part of the impetus when you started putting it together, or how did this all come into being from just kind of a thing on the side to becoming a full-blown business?
Well, what happened was I just started coming home with too many of them, making them, and my wife's like, "You got to get rid of these. Either you got to sell them, or you got to put them in the fire pit." And
Wow.
I was like, "Well, I'd rather sell them."
Yeah.
And a few the people at the Rubber Chicken Comics also said, "You need to sell these. You need to do something. Go to the con and see if you can get a table." So that's what we're trying to do. And see, you know, there's a lot of interest in it, especially with the cosplay being so popular right now. We can help these people because they can't walk into these places with real weapons anymore.
Right.
So.
And no.
There's obviously supposedly there's a market for it, so we just try to capitalize on it.
Well, something we like doing. So.
Well, that's the important thing. Like, I have one of my students that I'll mention by name, Raymond Ramus, who's locally. Again, you've met Raymond, and you know, I had him for a while. He was just using this little Dremel, making some of the kung fu weapons that we needed, like daggers and whatnot. But I walked into a place and I saw it was like, wow. And it's like a small child walking into Toys R Us.
Yeah.
You know, if you know me, I'm a big weapons instructor, as you can see in the background, and collector and whatnot. So it was really a joy seeing the innovative thought process. And like I said, some of the originality. You know, I mean, and again, both of these gentlemen here today were part of the excursion here at my studio to see some of the weapons that I teach and some of the Toys R Us excursion with weaponry. But it's really, whether you're a cosplayer who's looking for a sword, if again portraying He-Man or portraying Blade, or you're portraying any of the other esoteric characters from online video games, again, fantasy role-playing games, LARP, whatever it may be, you know, these gentlemen can create those weapons for you, and also unique and innovative designs that you may not have seen before, that you just look and go, that's cool! And I know I had that reaction. I had that, it's like, you know, after they surgically had to reattach my jaw from it being on the floor. And the most upsetting thing of that was the fact that by the time I got back with more cash, some of it was gone already. And, you know, it's really great in what you've created in the designs. What does the future hold for you? What do you want to do with R&L? What's your goals?
I just want to make more detail work, more outlandish stuff, things that people are going to look like yourself and say, wow, that's amazing. You know, it's not the money, it's not the selling it, it's the wow factor that people look and say, wow, you made this. That's what I get out of it.
And I think that's one of the most important aspects regarding it, is the fact is the artistic quality. And you know, when people, it's funny because as a martial artist, even in my own venue, among other artists, they were kind of like, well, you're not really an artist. And I was like, what? And I was like, you know, and when I look at what you make, this is art. This is innovative thought process that went this. No one's be walking down the street with this sword hacking anybody or attacking anyone. Right. This is something that you, whether you're hanging on the wall or using it as part of a cosplay costume, or like myself as a martial arts instructor, being able to show how different traditional weapons can be applied with these fantasy weapons in a safe atmosphere. No one's going to get cut. Maybe the worst thing you get is a splinter. You know, I mean, nothing's going to, but it's really the joy and innovation of working the weapons, and as we were here earlier today, seeing wielding some of these wonderful apparatus. And I think that the general public, like I said, you may be a D&D player who wants a really cool sword or axe or an orc blade hanging on your wall. You may be a cosplayer who wants to reenact a particular character and have that particular weapon as part of your ensemble. You might be a martial arts student or an instructor who just wants to take these various versions of the traditional weapons you've learned so that you can work and practice them safely without injury to yourself or others. Then you definitely have a great opportunity with the folks here at R&L Fantasy Woodworks. And thank you very much for taking time to talk to us. And we're going to be back with some exciting action. And we're not going to be hitting each other, but we're going to show you some of the wonderful blades that are created, some of the wonderful weapons created by R&L Fantasy Weapons Works. We'll be right back. Okay, we're back, and we're here with some exciting action. The action is going to be seeing some of the wonderful apparatus, wonderful weapons of fantasy legends and lore that these gentlemen have come up with. And gentlemen, if you'll take time and show some of the wonderful implements of joy and happiness. Some people call it weapons of mass destruction. We're in Massachusetts. I don't think you want to destroy anybody with them, but let's talk about some of the apparatus, the weapons you've created.
Okay. This I call the twisted axe, war axe. It's really one-handed, but you can grab it with two. That's why I put a little separation in it. I got kind of an idea from the video game Skyrim, because there's a lot of characters that use axes in the video game. And the wood spoke to me. There was certain areas in the wood that I had to cut around, and it said, you know what, good piece of wood, nice axe could be carved out of this, and that's what I came up with.
Amazing. You know, when you look at the, let's say, I mean, when you look at the length, and the minute you put it in, you feel the heft. And there's nothing like a good axe. I axe you once, I axe you a million times. But you know, if you look at the detail here, look at the detail that's put into this workmanship. Look at the detailed workmanship that's done to this. It's incredible. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
What's the next item? I feel like I'm on QVC, but when that's
got a nice great sword, or long sword.
It's got a real nice elven look to it.
Yeah. Well, that's actually where I got it from. It was a comic book actually, where a female elf had a sword similar to this, and I was like, you know what? Maybe I can take something from that and I mean, it's not exact, I put my own twist
Sure.
into it, but, you know.
And I think that's the key. You put your own uniqueness,
Yes.
your own slant that's distinctly you.
Yes.
That someone will look at and say, well, it's just a cop. No.
No.
It's something that you've uniquely created that put your own little slant on it. The classic, you got to change 20%, you know, but I mean, that's what it's all about.
Right.
And it's amazing. And, you know, I mean, you know, sometimes getting the length of the different woods, I mean,
Yes.
we're talking about that can be sometimes prevented, you know, some of the work
A
around.
lot of knots, you know, you gotta work around the knots, because sometimes when you grind it down, the knots fall out. It's not fun.
Yeah, we try to make it look like there was gems in it. And
Yeah.
Wow. And to look at, I mean, just to get an idea, I mean, perspective, I mean, I'm 6 feet tall, and look at the size of the entire sword, that's incredible. Thank you so much, cool. What do we have next?
This is, we call it a rune sword. It's not painted yet. I mean, we just put a nice white finish on it for now, so we can get a better paint job on it. These runes are going to be red, so they'll stick out further with a little light gray and then like a blackish, coalish gray.
Wow.
And then nice shiny black here and here on the handle and hilt. And I'm going to put a nice little wrap on it.
Very
But,
nice.
yeah, it's in the process.
Wow. Move forward a little bit, we take it with that.
More like a video game, fantasy video game type sword.
You know, and I love the hook and the sword guards, and again, the slanted pommel. And again, this is what we decoratively call a bastard sword, or a hand and a half sword that can be more than one, or two if necessary.
Right.
That's a beautiful piece of work. Thank you.
we also do that in case if someone wants to paint it their own color, like for what you did.
Sure. Oh,
Yes.
what I did. Oh, that's right.
Yes.
I saw this! And after I stopped drooling, okay, again, this is a variation, you can, if you're, those of you who are familiar with the Gurkhas of Nepal, or the kukri blade, and I really saw this and I love the very exotic fantasy handle. Now that really was great, and I saw it, it was just in plain wood, it wasn't painted. I knew I had to have it. I contacted him and called him and was like, do you still have it? And thankfully he did. And it's great. I mean, for me as a martial arts instructor with the working techniques, you know, working slashing, stabbing, inverting the blade, inverted motions, the hook, trap, walk. I mean, it's just incredible workmanship. And, you know, like I said, it was plain before, and I just, you know, spray painted it silver and it's professionally stained, and then just a couple of spray coats over it to give that gloss look to it. But it's amazing what you can do. So please, let's go on.
Well, I got this idea from the Conan movie, you know, from the 70s. And I said, well, I'd like to make something twisty and, you know, on a blade, and this is what I ended up with.
Nice. If you remember the classic scene with Max von Sydow as the besotted king,
Yep.
and then, you know, offering them rubies, and it's like, does a dagger like this wait for me in my heart? Thunk, and he throws it into the wood. But this is really nice, and you can see the one snake has, I don't know if you can see from there, but one snake has blue eyes, one snake has red eyes, and of course the crossed entwined bodies of the snakes. That is awesome. And then the coiled section for the cross guard, really nice. Thank you. Let's go on. Let's see what else we have here.
Then we have some little knives like this, Karambits. And I believe that you would love to show this.
I'm a Karambit addict. Okay, I'm not shaking from withdrawal, but it's like when the Karambit is one of my favorite weapons. Actually, my father actually introduced me to it back when I was about 8 or 9, and he had one. And I didn't know what it was at the time, and he had studied with a gentleman by the name of Herman Suwanda, who was a very well-known Penjak Silat practitioner. Sadly, he was killed tragically in an auto accident in Europe. But he was one of the more well-versed and world-renowned Silat practitioners. And talked about the tiger's claw. And really, it's great. You can utilize it, extend it, and strike with it. You can flip it, invert it. And whether you're going in a vertical plane, horizontal plane, inverted plane, that's where the importance of that ring and that trapping action comes in. And this is really nice work. Now let's talk about a very important feature. You had never actually held a karambit in your hand before you started working with this, right?
No.
This was just like looking at pictures and saying, hey, I'll make a karambit.
Right.
And that's what really blew my mind, because it's a little larger, but everything as I just showed and demonstrated can be done with the karambit. And it's amazing that you, out of, you know, just kind of looking at the picture, you know, came up with this. And it's really, I mean, it's a really nice blade, and it's amazing. Now, and we should mention, again, folks, I mean, like this is pine, correct?
I
What
believe
is
so,
it?
yes.
Okay. You know, you're not going to work on heavy impact stuff with this. This is something where you can practice, and it's a safe practice tool for you as a student with martial arts can work with this and have fun with it. And that's the key. You know, I mean, it is a practice weapon. That's the key. So it's safe, it doesn't harm anyone, and again, it's not real. Okay, I can't emphasize that enough.
Yes.
So let's go on. What else? What's next?
This, I kind of got the design from the old Roman daggers.
Yeah, the gladius. Yeah.
And I was trying to make a little bit of a cow face in here. Like I said, it's almost done, but I'm going to try, you know, a little hand on detail, a little more detail work. But
and I love the small dagger on the
yeah.
opposite end as
Yes.
well. That's excellent.
that I always do that.
Like I said, there's a unique slant.
I gotta make my own.
There you
Gotta
go.
make it my own. I mean, this is pretty much, you know, standard gladius, but this at the end, I try to make it
Well,
mine.
make something unique.
Exactly.
And that's really, you know, I mean, that's what we're talking about. You know, when you're working, I mean, again, the artistic expression. And that's what really makes it interesting and innovative. And like I said, when you look at the blades here and look at the gladius, and again the classic scene from Gladiator to Spartacus to any of the films that utilize the gladius as a weapon. But again, it's got its own unique slant. That's the key. Excellent. Thank you. And what else do we know? What else? Ah, yes. Sorry, wiping the drool from my lips because when they brought this in, there's certain toys I just looked at and went, ah.
Well, when we knew we were coming here, I told my son, I said, I gotta make something special, and that's what I came up with.
So, nice duo.
This reminds me so much. There's a wonderful pair of these particular blades in Conan.
Conan, yes.
And it's when, and at one point he's working, he does the great classic
Yep.
crossing his arms and bowing.
Right.
And I've always wanted a pair. So when you walked in, I did just about everything I could not to suddenly scream like a 9-year-old going, ah! Okay, but I did not do that! All right, I just did it now, but you know.
Right.
But I mean, really, I mean, and this is exactly what we're talking about. That if you've seen a fantasy film, if you've read a fantasy book or seen a fantasy comic or seen a particular illustration, and you go, man, I wish I could have one of those. I wish I could get one of those. You know, I mean, here's an opportunity where they literally can contact you and have you make one. This is phenomenal. This really is incredible. And these are staying. They're not leaving. They're not leaving. Do you hear me? Okay, but I mean, really, as a traditional martial arts practitioner, if I'm teaching something like the Elkhorn knives and walking the circle, or I'm doing some of the basic forms where I can block and strike, I mean, these just fit right in. It's amazing, and they're beautifully done. They're beautifully done. All right, let's continue on as I wipe the drool from my this last piece of apparatus.
This one.
Yeah, tell me about this. Now, this is we're going to show. This is actually in your banner, in your poster,
Yes.
and what in your. Now, tell me about this blade.
I came up with this. I said I want to make a night dagger. You know, a little sidearm for knights out there.
Sure.
And I came up with a little design. You know, it's a basic hilt right here. But I said I want to put a couple little niches in it so this way it makes it a little different. And my son said that's too pointy. So now this is now called the too pointy dagger. But too pointy. So I had the crescent. I kind of put a crescent moon with a full moon. I wanted to bevel it, make it a little different instead of flat and tasteless.
Oh, John.
And if someone's always concerned, we can always make it a little less pointy.
Yeah, it's wood. We can sand it down if moms out there don't like it.
Well, that's the key. I mean, some martial arts and different individuals, they want I have the point. It's the point of my blade. But I mean, if you look at the detail, and again, we'll be doing some close-ups, obviously, of the various workmanship that these gentlemen have done. But nice stuff. It's just incredible. Thank you. All right, let's go on. Let's see what else we have here.
Well, there's a different version of the palm.
Now, this is the funny story, okay? Some of you may or may not recognize this particular model. They didn't buy different things, but he hadn't seen it. So when he made it, again, here we're talking about different sources doing things independently of seeing certain things. And he hadn't seen this particular blade. And it's a little larger than the one is almost like a knife blade, like a neck knife. But this one I love because, I can hold it in my hand like so and still not have to use the bottom circle. Or I can hold it like a karambit, use the bottom circle and not be concerned with the top circle. And that's what's really nice. It's like, so, and again, the same flailing actions can be done. Now, again, we talked about, and there is a concern, and we mentioned good and bad. Don't drop them. You know, I have had one broke, but again, that simply stated is the exception, not the rule. If you take care of the blade will take care of you, and hopefully take care of anyone you're working with. But what's great about it, again, there's no major edge. The point is not, you know, I can still stick someone without sticking them. I mean, there is somewhat of a point here, but you can still wield it as you would the traditional blade. And that's what's great about it. That's just, warms the cockles of my heart. Okay, so let's go on.
Now, this one.
Ah, yes.
I came up with this one. I wanted this to kind of look like a dragon claw and a finger. More of a chopping, you know, little stab, but more of a chopping blade. Or something like a fancy, like a character like an orc or something would have, making out of raw materials. Again, we painted it, primed it white so we can later on paint it a different color and, you know, make it look realistic. Or like I said, if somebody likes it like this, wants to paint it themselves, you know, at least you won't have all the wood grain in it, so it'll hide that. So it's not too bad.
You know, when I saw this and I saw the blade, it reminds me of, in the film Predator, there's a Native American individual who has a particular type of machete. And this, when I saw this particular configuration of blade, that it immediately brought images of that. And this, of course, being myself and doing different weapons, I'm thinking, okay, I can punch him, I can hook him, I can block, I can stab him with that, I can hook and transfer the nail. I mean, it's just a whole lot of fun.
Yes.
But like I said, if you look at the configuration of the blade and look at the length to get an idea of perspective, because a lot of people, they'll see pictures, well, how long is the blade really in relationship? But that will really give you a great insight into that. All right, well, that was on your side, so why don't you put it on there. All right, so let's go on. Let's see, let's pick one together.
Well, I think
this is your favorite. I'll tell you a story. They're on Facebook and they're putting up different things that they have coming up for the Rhode Island Comic Con, which you're not going to be there. These gentlemen will be there, so make a point of attending. They show this, and I'm like, all right, maybe not 9, 12-year-old girl. But I really like, I didn't really, again, you know, to paraphrase the semi-politically incorrect phrase, I didn't know how big it was.
Right.
And so I didn't know if it was like a smaller dagger or whatnot. And then when I finally saw it, and tell them the name of this wonderful apparatus, it is called
the lobster claw.
The lobster claw. I get a lobster to claw like this, I'm running. Okay. But again, we talk about again the guard position to protect against the hand, the wide, thick, curved blade, and again that back hook, that claw-like appendage to not only protect your hand but also to rip and tear and all those wonderful things that make life so special. But I mean, this is the stuff that as a fantasy role player who hasn't seen something like this is like, wow, that's cool. I've never seen something like that before. And that's what really makes it fun, that you have something as a cosplayer, as a LARP player, whatever you may be. And for those people not familiar with LARP, it means live action role playing. But this is something that you can carry as a decorative piece of your ensemble. I mean, it's really cool. I mean, this is really awesome. I was like, that's cool. And really, it's that wow factor, and that's what you want to have when you see some of these weapons, and you're like, wow, that's cool. You know, and it's not for just the person who's actually using it as a costume. Just the person who wants something cool to hang on the wall.
Right.
And just have a display piece, something, a conversation piece. People go, wow, what's that?
Right.
And that's really the beauty of this. And I wanted to. I saw that you have a couple other pieces as well, and we want to talk about that briefly, and then we should be all set with that piece there.
This, I basically wanted to do a throwing dagger, but then it became into a knight's dagger.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, kind of arrow point design.
Sure.
Just to be a little different, little thin shaft.
Yeah.
But, I mean,
very nice.
Lance painted this one himself. He said, I want to paint this one, make it look good. So
give people an idea of what they can and
look
cannot
like if they're painted, if you
Right.
don't want to paint them yourself.
And exactly. I mean, you had one beautiful design that you had like Chinese characters all along length, which I didn't get. I wanted to get it. I didn't get it. I was very upset I didn't get it. Let me tell you. But if you check out the point art and or thrusting dagger, it can also be used as a main ganch with a foil, and just incredible designs. I mean, it's great the work you've done.
Thank you.
So that's an overview of some of the various wonderful weapons from R&L Fantasy Woodworks, and I mean, I really want people to understand that this runs the gamut. I mean, within reason, the wood that can be picked up and whatnot, it's only as limited as your own imagination, and of course he's a gentleman, and you can tell he's You gentlemen are pretty imaginative to come up with some of the design they have. So if you get a chance to check us out, check them on my show, us. Got it. How can they reach you? How do they contact you? What's your website?
We have a Facebook, which is facebook.com/R&LFWW.
Simple as that?
Yep. And then we also have a Twitter. I believe that's at R&LWW, FWW.
That's spelled out and, or is it just?
I'm not quite too sure. I actually.
We'll have to look right now.
Yes.
Right.
All right. Well, actually, we'll go at the end of the episode. You can make a point of checking it out at the end of the show. This is Joe Rebelo with, again, R&L from R&L Fantasy Woodworks. Gentlemen, thank you so much for taking time to be on the show. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. And we'll be back with more action here on Martial Arts Today Television. Stay tuned.